Urban and indoor farming are the future, but traditional farming methods and tools won't always translate from the field to the indoor farm. Our guest is the co-founder and CEO of an ag tech startup on a mission to create energy efficient and globally scalable solutions to problems unique to the indoor farming industry. And you're going to love what she and her team built and patented. Stay tuned for the Startup Life Live show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising those 4 businesses, I have a deep appreciation and firsthand knowledge of what challenges you're facing and the high levels of uncertainty you are walking through every single day. Congratulations. Thank you for sticking with it. And thank you too for carving out time to tune in to the Startup Life Live show, because this is a great way to up your founder game. And as you up your founder game and increase your skills and knowledge, your startup will do better. And yeah, there's nothing that can prepare you for this journey, right? Except for doing it and then finding out, wow, I know nothing, and starting to fill in all those holes. A big yoo-hoo to the live viewers. I'm so thrilled to see you here. Mwah. And you replay video watchers, thank you so much for tuning in. And podcast listeners, truly grateful for your attention and listening. And wherever you are, if you could share this video, share this audio with your tribe, it helps us reach more founders and help those who are feeling really siloed and really alone in their founder journey. So thank you for that. And if you are tuning in on YouTube and you haven't done so already, I would be so grateful for your subscribe, love, and click that notification bell as well. And if you want to get a deep dive on the guests that I have here every Tuesday and Friday at 12 noon EST, join the Startup Life Live meetup group. I have a deep description of who they are and what they're doing in the world, and you'll have a better idea if someone is on a journey similar to yours, that you can grab some of those gems that you need for your startup. It's all about the founder support, right? So here are a few Andelicious announcements for you. I'll always start off with Arlen's Academy. Hop on over there to find everything you need to know about launching a successful business all in one place. We love Arlen. And hey, if you need any help with getting your product from prototype to scale implementation, go check out forgemass.org. They're a wonderful organization that helps founders. There's no fees to the founders, okay? So go check out Forge if you have a physical product you're bringing to market. And if you're not doing anything this weekend, come on over and listen to yours truly. I'm going to be a storyteller at the Third Act Quest Storytelling Virtual Event, October 21st and 22nd. It's Friday night and Saturday, and we're all sharing our Third Act story. And some of the folks I'm sharing this with are film directors and business owners and midlife coaches. It's a great group of people. And if you're raising capital, hop on over to Scroobius, because they're there to give you the support you need as a founder. They've got a great founder support group. They prepare you not just for pitching, but they help you create a video pitch, and they really know what they're doing. Use the promo code Andy15 for 15% off all their services. The female founder, Allison Beyer, she's extraordinary. She's done a deep dive into all the data. She's got one of those data-driven minds and brains. And boy, she has really pulled everything together that you need for a successful pitch, especially timing, right? Because that really is the number one challenge folks have when pitching, is the timing. Is it the right time? Am I too soon? Am I too late? All of that stuff. Oh, there's so much to know. Anyway, moving right along, I can't wait to introduce you to our guest. So let me just pull up the artwork and tell you all about Asia Atwood, serial entrepreneur and inventor. She is the co-founder and CEO of Trella Technologies, an ag tech startup on a mission to create energy efficient and globally scalable solutions to problems unique to the indoor farming industry. With fellow inventor and co-founder Dre, they prototyped, built, and built again, Trella's patented plant training solution, Trella Grow LST, the only automated patented solution to growing tall, fruiting, and flowering plants via stacked vertical farming. You are going to love this founder. Let me bring her into the room. Welcome to the show, Asia Atwood.
Thank you for having me, Andy. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy that you're here. You know, I'm a huge fan of everything that you're doing at Trella Technologies. I can't wait to showcase and celebrate you and all that you're doing. Share with folks where you are and why you're there.
I'm traveling on the road in Florida right now. I would have been traveling back home today, but unfortunately came down with a bout of COVID. So had some symptoms last week, recovering, feeling much better today. Thankfully,
Excellent.
I was able to participate in today's session. But yeah, it's life. You got to go with the flow.
Right. And can I say, folks, as Asia said to me during our little chat before we went live, she says, be like water. So I'm going to just start the show off right now with that, stitch that on a pillow moment. Be like water. That's the best founder advice ever, Asia. It's so hard. And folks, you know what it's like. You think you've got your whole day, week, month mapped out, and all sorts of things happen. So I had a cancellation. My original guest for today had to reschedule. And when Asia was putting out about her wonderful WeFunder campaign, which we're going to talk about, I said, come on the show. I mean, what else are you going to be doing down there in isolation and quarantine? Come chat with me. Yay, about everything that you're doing. Anyway, as Ruth says, hi, Ruth. Ruth is from Nairobi, and she is our community manager. She always greets everybody here, and she's saying, thank you for carving out time to improve your founder game. When you do better, your business will do better. Absolutely. And a big hello to Brent, our phenomenal devoted fan. And he's from Ottawa, Canada, a diverse person, where he's always reminding us that disability is innovation. And this innovation plant robot is good for people with disabilities. Okay.
Very true.
Well, why is it good for disabilities? I'm going to have to ask you that question when we get there. Okay. Because thank you, Brent, for that. But I want to go back a little bit in time, Asia, if you don't mind, because I'm so curious. Folks, Asia's got this amazing background. She graduated top honors from the engineering school she went to, but from there she went to work as an international engineering consultant and specialist focused on climate disaster risk engineering to reduce property damage and business interruptions from natural catastrophes. What? Like, how did you end up doing that, Asia?
Yeah, I would not have imagined I did it. And actually, when I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree from Northeastern, I went into the workforce, and at that time, they were laying off. It was one of those bad times in the economy.
Yeah.
They weren't hiring. So I went in a different direction and said, I'm going to have to, instead of going the typical engineering route where you get a job sitting behind a desk, let's look around. And I wound up getting involved in what's called property risk engineering. So these are engineers that mainly work for insurance companies, and strange but true, yes, insurance companies have engineers, and their engineers are tasked with going around and trying to figure out, if there's a fire, an explosion, or a natural catastrophe, how bad will it be, and what can you do from an engineering perspective to mitigate it, minimize it, or stop it. And these are for, these are insurance companies that are covering large, high value locations. This isn't just your typical home insurance company.
Right. So so when a storm comes in and wipes out a big plant, bridges, things like that.
Yes. Airports, power stations, large, casinos, just anything of, I would say, over $250 million or more. Sometimes it went up into the, multiple billions of dollars in value. So these are really big, expensive locations, and insurance companies want to try to figure out how to stop it from happening versus just paying out a claim. So,
And so,
um,
and so, how
go
do you
ahead.
think this lived experience prepared you for what you're doing today? What did you grab from that? What did you extrapolate or experience that informed what you're doing today?
I mean, I spent about 15 years in that industry, and over that time, I had to go and visit a plethora of different types of buildings, occupancies, production facilities. I've seen how they make a lot of different things. It really opened my eyes to what it takes to create, to make things, to manufacture. It also opened my eyes to the infrastructure and how much energy and cost and waste there is behind having a brick and mortar location. If you have a business, what it takes to upkeep it, to protect it, and also the ability to have some foresight, to think a little bit ahead and try to mitigate risks. So I was able to bring all of those things into Trella, and it really shaped some of the decisions that I made as a CEO.
Yeah. And so, had you been exposed to entrepreneurship growing up? Did you have extended family who were founders? Did you have a group of friends who were entrepreneurs? Or was this your first foray into this wonderful and rich landscape?
Well, I would say my great grandmother was an entrepreneur. She was not a conventional entrepreneur. She was what's called a numbers runner, but I still give her credit. She
Tell me
she ran a
more.
business.
What's a numbers runner?
So, before the lottery was actually, a federal legal thing, people ran numbers, and it was, a way of kind of betting on the number system. And
I love
at the
that.
time in the 30s, when, a black woman with a brain and intellect didn't have a way of making her own money, she got into what was considered to be illegal at the time of running numbers. And I was very, very, very successful at it. Had three different properties, and this is in the 40s and 50s in
Wow.
Philadelphia. So I like to say that that bloodline, runs through me. And luckily, I'm in a day and age where I have more opportunity, and I don't have to, you know, deal with
Sure.
the illicit market. But you
But
know,
she
before
had a head for numbers, and
she did.
and she knew that she could earn money even though it was under the table, so to speak. Um, but she saw how to make it a profitable, sustainable business. Those are really great skills to have. And you're right, there was something in her that compelled her to provide for her family, increase generational wealth,
Hmm.
and do something to change the trajectory, and have the courage, right? And so sometimes we're put in a situation where, courage or not, you got to do something. And I love that that sort of came in through the DNA, so to speak, and into your consciousness, which is great. And so, what was it then that compelled you to launch Trella? Like, did you have a conversation? Was it over drinks with your co-founder? Did you bring the co-founder in later? Tell everybody how Trella came to be and what year was that?
Well, I've been a part of two different startups before Trella, and by the time I got to Trella, I knew I wanted to do something um, of my own, like create something that I dreamed up in my head. And I was on vacation at the time, and it came up with this problem of trying to figure out how to train my plants in my own basement, and looked around and saw that there wasn't, an existing solution for a way to automatically control the height of a plant in a
Yeah.
vertically challenged space. So I got together right away with my co-founder Dre. We call him. We went to Northeastern University together, and we worked on a previous startup together as well. And we worked really well together. Just great
Great.
synergy. Really good at brainstorming. He had a really great belief in my ability, and I the same. So we reciprocate that kind of belief and trust. And this being my third go round, I understood how important it is to have a co-founder that you really can get along with, that you can communicate with very well, that believes in you, that trusts you, and just said, Dre, let's do this. So he was on board, and we started in 2016, and we had our first prototype in 2017.
Whoa. And you bring up a really good point too with the finding the right co-founder. So did you have an experience in the past of not the same synergy and alignment, or were you just alone and saying, I'm not doing this alone ever again? I need a co-founder?
Well, I did the alone thing and knew it's being a solopreneur is extremely difficult. And then I had the experience of having a co-founder and found out that you need to have someone who actually trusts and communicates very well.
Right.
So you kind of, you try, you learn, you try, you learn, and you just keep pivoting and adjusting until you find what works.
Yeah, and I think that's excellent co-founder advice because folks, goes on for a long time. This is 2016 that they launched. They're 6 years into their marriage. I mean, co-founder relationship.
Yeah, it's true.
And that is so not easy. So, and of course, everybody's kind of saying to themselves, so she was growing something in her basement. I wonder what that was. But we've been legal for a while here in Massachusetts, and we're all allowed to grow plants here. How did you and Dre develop and build your MVP? Like, how did that begin? Was it like a 3D printout? Did you? I'd love to know the details and how that happened for others who are creating a hard asset, something that's
Mhm.
going to have parts and pieces and need to be manufactured. What worked for you?
Well, we had the benefit of both being engineers, and Dre has access to prototyping equipment, so a little bit of a CNC machine, et cetera, 3D printing machine. So we had that plus that unfortunately not everybody has access to. So we were able to come together, design our own CAD. I mean, we both know
Mhm.
how to do CAD, so we didn't have to really outsource that, and come up with a way to build it. But we didn't want to be we're frugal.
Hey, we call that lean
We're
startup.
lean. There you go. Yes, we're lean. We bootstrapped. That was the thing. We started with our own cash, and just because you have access to the equipment, et cetera, doesn't mean that you spend money unwisely. So
Right.
we looked around for materials that we could easily get our hands on to build these things, and it was kind of very rudimentary. The very first prototype, and what we did is we sat together and we brainstormed. We had maybe about 4 or 5 brainstorming sessions before we built anything to try to figure out how many different ways can we think of to do what it is that we're trying to do to grow a plant
Oh,
sideways.
I love that. I wouldn't well, of course, I don't have that engineering brain, not that I know of, so I wouldn't have thought, well, let's look at all the different ways. That's a great way to start. Then what happened?
So we had about maybe 11 to 12 different ideas, and then we said, let's boil it down to three that we think are the most viable, just by thinking it through a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we decided to build a prototype that would at least allow us to learn from the three different versions that we had. So we started doing a lot of things by hand. It's now an automated system, but the very beginning, no automation. You're just trying to duplicate what it is that you hope to automate.
Wow.
And we started there and figured out, this works great, this doesn't, and it changed and morphed. It looks nothing like it did on that very first prototype at all.
See, that's the old reiterate, reiterate, reiterate. Folks, I'm just going to pop up this wonderful slide here with Dre and Asia. Don't you love that photo? The two of them looking off into the future that they are creating. And I love that you both have this great background to sit down and noodle out. That's what it is. You sit down, you draw, you pull, you push, you try different ways. You're bringing your two wonderful engineering brains together to create this outcome. And so as you created the MVP and you got confident that this is something that folks would want to buy, how did you prove your value proposition? Because folks, it's really where a lot of times startups fails because they come up with this brilliant idea and they think it's wonderful and they go to prove it, i.e., people will pay for it and things can fall apart really easily. What was your experience at bringing, at proving your value proposition that you had something that would train plants to grow vertically?
Yeah. Well, we at that picture that you just showed, Dre and I, we were actually at a our very first market feedback, where we invited about 5 different growers to come meet us in this location. We showed them what it is that we were trying to do, and we asked them for feedback. So Dre and I, right there, are standing there looking at a whiteboard, and there's a very experienced grower on the other side of that that lives in Massachusetts, and he's giving us his feedback and drawing on the whiteboard and saying, "Well, I would like it to do this and X, Y, Z." So we're
Oh,
actually trying to
great.
absorb as much as we can from our future customer, and we had to go out and ask. That was the first thing, was go out, see if does this make sense. I mean, it was a very that day was a very nervous day, because it's your baby. You don't know what people are going to say, and luckily we received good feedback that let us know that we should continue doing it. And we didn't stop there. We went to a few trade shows.
Yep.
This isn't about we filed our provisional patent, and once we did that, we knew we could now go out and start talking about it more publicly. So we went to a few trade shows, a few events. We did a really cool thing back in 2018 where we put our device in a 3D world, a virtual reality world. And so we had our first, it was our version 3, our third version. We put it in a VR world. We had a plant in there. It had a little bit of automation where you could put on a headset and press a button and you'd see the plant move. And we took it to a trade show at the Heinz Convention Center in Boston. And we asked people to put the headset on and just tell us what you think. And that was another, experience for us to get more feedback.
Excellent.
We got some good stuff, and it again told us keep moving, keep going forward. You've got something here.
Well, and I love the problem that you two are solving, right? The indoor farming setups, they have limitations. It's stacked or container farming solutions have limited height for plants to grow and take care of. There's a lot of labor intensity going on when you're, you know, growing plants this way. I mean, imagine having to get to the top, for crying out loud. And that's not how stacked farming is set up. So, I mean, you can only grow so much arugula.
Hmm.
Some plants are going to need some height. So I love this problem that you're solving. May I bring up the solution slide here?
Yes, please.
Oh, that would be great. So talk a little bit about this.
So yeah, this is our seventh version, our seventh design. So if you look at the picture that's kind of in the forefront, there's the
Hmm.
picture of a cannabis plant, and that's in what's called the seedling stage. So the plant gets placed in our unit. It grows up through a green ring. You can see that green ring at the very top.
Yep.
So the top of the plant grows through that green ring, and then as the plant wants to grow taller and taller, that green ring actually moves sideways so that the top of the plant winds up getting kind of held and pushed down very gently. This is a very slow process. It moves as fast as the plant grows. So if the plant grows, a quarter of an inch a day, that green ring moves a quarter of an inch a day.
Right.
If it's a faster growing plant, it will move as fast as the plant grows. That there are sensors in there that are actually sensing how fast that plant is growing and moving accordingly. So what we're essentially doing is growing a plant sideways, and keeping it to a predefined height. So you can get it in those vertically stacked spaces. And once you get through that vegetation process, you can let the branches and the fruiting and all that type of stuff begin. But what we're doing is we're creating, I would say, the physical structure of the plant. We're shaping the skeleton of the plant, and
Right.
then once the skeleton is shaped, you can let the fruiting begin.
Wow. And low stress, folks, that's really important because the plant will die on you if it's getting pushed around too much, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or you can, if you damage it, there are lots of other traditional methods that people use, things that are called scrog. Scrog is screen of green. There's a term called lollipopping, where you're cutting a lot of the branches at the
Yeah.
bottom and creating a plant that looks like a lollipop at the top. And those are ways to get more out of the plant for sure, but they require skill, time, patience, access. So if you talk about disabilities, that's kind of where this gets tied into it. And if you don't do it correctly, you can overstress the plant, which means you can slow it down, slow down the rate of the growth. So the plant actually stops growing because it's wondering, what are you doing to me? I hold on a second here. Um, or whenever you're cutting, you're creating, a place where pests and pathogens and bacteria to get into the plant. So you don't want to overcut, overstress, over trim your plant if you don't have to. So what we're doing is a low stress technique where you just bend the plant sideways very gently as it grows slowly over time. and allow it to grow as fast as possible so that you can get the most out of it as quickly as possible.
I love that. And yes, Mia Voss says, woohoo, come to Colorado.
Sure. Thanks, Mia.
And everybody, we just got to take a quick break because whenever Mia shows up, you know what I'm going to do. Everybody, go subscribe to Mia's incredible and so much fun and informative podcast, Shit We Don't Talk About. Go to shitwedon'ttalkaboutpodcast.com and hear the conversations and that you need to know about. Seriously, it's phenomenal. And Richard O was like, "What? I had it in had it in a VR world. Wow!" And another question from Richard O is this tech mostly designed for cannabis, or was that your first customer segment?
It's our first customer segment, Richard. Great question. So the end goal for this is to be able to grow all fruiting, fruit-bearing, flowering plants. So not just cannabis, a lot of different other types of plants. I think we have a slide, Andy, that,
Okay,
that talks about the different types of plants and industries that we're going after. Maybe we can pull that up for Richard.
hold on. There's the method. Here's the Is it this one?
Yes, there we go.
Yes, here we go, Richard.
Yep. So, we're looking at trying to grow robust plants inside, indoors. As Andy just said, we can only grow so much arugula, and a lot of the vertically stacked arrangements out there for food are microgreens, lettuce, herbs, short things. We need to
Mhm.
be able to grow a wide variety of plants indoors. And then, my background as a natural catastrophe risk engineer and seeing how climate is impacting our food supply
Sure.
really is what's driving me to make sure that this is not just something that stays for cannabis, but that it's something that can be used for our food system, and to allow people to be able to grow their food as close to the table as possible, to really stop
Right.
having to rely on food that's shipped, from different countries or from far destinations. We need to be able to grow food where we live.
Right. And folks who are listening on the podcast, we have a slide up called the industries we impact, and it's plant medicine market. So of course, cannabis, et cetera. Then plant-based protein market, amaranth and quinoa greens and katuk greens and more. And then fruits and vegetables market, tomatoes, melons, and more. And then genetics and seed cultivation. And it's fruit bearing or flowering crops is that a greater than I can
That's right. Greater than 3 feet in height. That's
yeah.
what we're after.
Yep, I love that. This is such great information, and I am just so grateful that you started to pull on this thread because having seen not just buildings and airports get wiped out as a, you know, risk mitigator and catastrophe person out in the field, you saw what happened when the fields get wiped out, when the ability to grow gets wiped out. You know, when you're in a container, a lot can happen around you and your plants can still keep growing. But a big unexpected snowstorm or freezing conditions like happened in Florida, and there goes a whole crop of who knows what. You are looking at this like, folks, we're going to have to start growing indoors a lot more often. How can we do this? Can you talk a little bit about how your product, your invention saves on not just time and labor, but on energy? Like, why does it make it cheaper to produce?
Sure. So this is something that was pretty exciting when we were developing the prototype. Um, I don't know if you can bring up a slide. We might have a slide, Andy, about that LED and energy saving.
Nope. Okay, hold on. Nope, I don't have that slide.
Oh no, unfortunately, maybe it didn't make it into the download.
That's okay. Well,
It's okay. We'll describe it.
yes,
So if you can picture a plant that's growing sideways,
yes.
if you're holding it to a certain height, that means that you can use LED lights and you can get those LED lights very close to the plant because you don't have to worry about that plant potentially growing a little bit too tall and getting into the lights. If you can hold it to a certain height, you can hold your LEDs to a certain height as well.
Yep.
And what that enables you to be able to do is to dim down those LEDs so that you're reducing that energy cost. On
Yeah.
top of that, what we also were able to do, and if you bring up the method, there was a method slide, Andy, that'll help you.
Yeah.
There we go. So in the bottom right corner, you can see a picture of a cannabis plant growing and it's got a series of LED lights over
Sure.
top. You can see about 5 different LED bars sitting over top of that. Well, what we do when we grow the plant from the start is we don't turn on all of those LED bars, because when the plant is at the very beginning stage, it's furthest to the left of the screen, and you only have the LED bars to the left of the screen that are actually over the plant. So we keep all the other bars off until the plant actually grows sideways, gets under that light, then we turn the light on. So that's another way for us to reduce the energy consumption, and we're really able to do that by about 61% during that vegetation phase. So it's a huge
Wow.
difference in LED energy consumption.
That is significant, especially as Richard says, he's in California. So, I mean, you turn on a light in California and it's like money's going right out the window. Energy costs are very high. So now you're able to decrease the energy and, watering, right? That
Mhm.
becomes easier to do. And how about labor? How is that involved? That our good friend Brent Manuel was talking about, he knows that this is something that folks who are disabled can help out in.
Yeah, I mean, so because it's an automated process, it's automatically, creating that vegetative structure, that skeleton structure for you. And if you didn't have that, you'd have to do it by hand. And most people grow their plants on the floor to some degree. So that means you have to get down in there, get your hands in there, trim, twist, tie. If you're dealing with a disability, or you're just maybe dealing with an injury of some sort, it could be very taxing on you physically, especially if you're in a grow tent or in a very small confined space. It gets very difficult to get in there to deal with those plants. So what we've done is, instead of having to interact with the plant in that manner every other day, we've taken it down to having to do that maybe every 10 days. And you're really, only going in there and doing a little bit of light pruning, just checking to make sure that there aren't any issues from a health perspective.
Excellent.
Um, and you're moving on to the next thing that you have to do within your day.
So how did you bring this to market? Like, how did you go after your first customers? What was the feedback? How did it inform any reiterations with the product?
Yeah, so because we've always raised capital doing crowdfunding,
Mhm.
uh, we our first customers are actually our investors. They're the first. I would say 70% of our customers are our investors. Um, they believe in the company, they believe in the product, and they want to try the product out as well. So it was kind of the effort of doing crowdfunding was twofold
Right.
for us. And we were able to put our first product, we shipped our first product this year, January 2022. We actually delivered them all in person to our customers, to really figure out who are they, you know, what is it that they're looking to accomplish, and what kind of headaches and issues might they have. And that was great because we learned a lot. We learned that for most of our customers were residential growers that were looking to save time, make it a lot easier for them to grow their plants. And we have, an automation, and we've got an app, and we've got all these sensors, etc. But the bulk of them just wanted help with training the plant, just getting that plant um, to create a very good structure. They weren't really looking for a lot of the bells and whistles. So what we did is we decided to create another model. So this year in 2022, we started with 2 models prior to 2022, but in 2022 we came out with our third model, the Model 4E, and the
Mhm.
E stands for like entry level.
Got it.
It's scaled down. It's a little simpler for people to use to get that kind of training process done. And if they want to add the bells and whistles, etc., we're going to be offering kits, so you can get upgrade kits to make it into a fully automated model if you want to. And those kits will be available in 2024. So we learned that keep it simple. That
Yes.
was one, that was one thing that I think looking back from our MVP, the first product that we had, we probably could have been a lot simpler with the very first version. So we decided to scale it down and create that to move forward.
Well, and you're being like water. You're staying fluid. and based on what your customers are giving you feedback on. Now let's talk manufacturing. Are you able to use local suppliers? Are you able to build locally, or are you, having it offshore manufactured? How does that work for you?
So we've actually assembled them ourselves in
Great.
2022.
Yep.
We get our parts from a plethora of different locations. You know, some from Japan, some local in North America. We have custom printed circuit boards that have parts that come from all over the place. Those are manufactured, some in China, some here in the United States, some in Canada. So we have different parts that are kind of being made all over the place. They all ship to us in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
We put them together and assemble them in a build to order style. However, as we're finding, that's not a very scalable or sustainable way to move forward, and it's extreme. It was extremely taxing this year. Whew, doing it that way was extremely taxing. So we're actually looking to partner up with a fulfillment company that will
Yeah.
help us with some of that, and we're in the process of
That's
finding them right
great.
now.
And boy, is that a typical process, everyone, for anyone with a physical product. You do a lot of it on your own. With my food manufacturing business, I definitely was in the commercial kitchen a lot initially until you were able to figure out how to scale. Where are the partners out there who's going to take this, have the same level of attention to detail that you have. And all of this takes time. Don't kid yourself, folks tuning in, that you can be an overnight success. It's usually, the 10-year overnight success
Mm,
is what's going to happen, especially when you're dealing with physical prototypes and products. And I really love that you brought the products to your customers. I think you did some great social media posts on that. And, you got the great feedback from them because it's working closely with the customers that help us reiterate and refine a product or a service to be even more in tune with who's going to want to buy it in the future. And then I love also how tuned in you were to just the whole process of, wow, we might need to scale back. Okay, let's see how we do that.
mm.
Um, let's talk about, because you did the crowdfunding initially to raise the capital to get to where you are today. And folks, it's so important when you do, and it's the beauty of doing crowdfunding because you have a built-in community and because you don't have to be an accredited investor when you are part of a regulation crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding process. Fans, can slap down $1,000, 5,000, or 150, 250. Sometimes there's a minimum, but you feel like you're an owner and you get to take joy in the process of watching and supporting this company getting built. I want to bring in your current WeFunder campaign real quickly here, and so we can talk about this and share with everybody where you're at today,
Yeah.
because we learn a lot from our founders who are using regulation crowdfunding and how that's working. So talk a little bit about how and why you're doing crowdfunding again versus traditional.
Well, um, well, if you look at the stats for VC funding for um, African American women,
Yeah.
it's less than 1% of the funding comes to us. And I always thought from the very beginning that I probably have a better shot with the larger community, selling my ideas to the larger community than I might have to someone who doesn't look like me or understand my background. So we are going to, continue to do crowdfunding. That will always be a staple of how we raise funding.
Right.
So what you can do is you can do one round and then you can take a pause and then you can do another round. So this is our second round of regulation crowdfunding. The other reason why I like doing it this way is exactly kind of as you mentioned, Andy. Anyone can get involved.
Yeah.
Anyone. You don't have to be an accredited investor. You can be, you can put 250, 500, whatever you're able to actually invest and know that is not going to, be an issue because you are investing and there's always that
Yep.
risk. But anybody can be a part of it, and we're able to build that community too.
That's right.
It's
And folks, I want to take you through Trella's crowdfunding campaign. You can find it at wefunder.com/trella.technologies.llc. Links will be in the show notes. But this is what's so important is being able to put out, what are the highlights? She's got them listed here. Who's the team implementing and executing here? And then we've got the pitch itself. And here's the growing market, cannabis industry, vertical farming industry, and, the high level, 359 billion in the global cannabis cultivation market, 21.2 billion in the projected vertical farming market. These are all really important pieces of information so founders can get more, investors can get more comfortable with your investment. Here's the, we found the problem and the existing solutions that aren't working, and then their solutions. So you're learning a lot about this company. And that's another wonderful thing. It gives you, for your $250 or $500, when you invest in a company like Trella, you have an opportunity to see a return. I mean, you could go out to dinner and spend that money and not have anything to show for it. Here you have an opportunity to help a company grow and do something so important for the planet, and add value to the world and your own equity stake in the company. So, and I love your timeline here with the plant going out to the right, et cetera. So anything else that you'd like to say about your campaign? I just scrolled down real quickly, but to give everybody an idea.
Yeah, if you click at what people say,
Okay.
in the top, up top, you'll
Up, what
see,
people say. Yep.
yep,
Oh, hey.
and just scroll slowly if you like through that. This is my
Yes.
favorite part of the page. And, it's a little bit like it's uplifting, this part of the page for me personally. And this is just a
Yes.
shout out to our current investors, to let them know that how these words make an impact on what it is that we do, and how we move forward.
Oh,
I mean, you've got that comment there by Ova Dochi. It says, "Because you're living my dream." I mean,
oh,
that's the type of stuff that, when you're having, because entrepreneurship is a journey. This looks great. I've had people say, I was on a call just yesterday, and someone else said, "Oh, this must just be amazing. Your life is yada yada," and I'm like, you don't know, man. It's not every day is rosy. There's a lot of ups, there's a
no.
lot of downs, especially when you're trying to do something this big. And to have comments like these that come in really help to,
So
get me out
great.
of bed in the morning, and to keep moving. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I love this section. So visit the page, see what other people are saying, and if you feel so inclined, please leave a comment. We love to know what it is that made you invest in Trello Grow.
Absolutely. You get to look at the financials, as well as the overview that I showed you. This is the beauty of crowdfunding. And remember, folks, we are about democratizing private equity opportunities. It's only for the wealthy who get to get in on private equity deals. Well, this is what regulation crowdfunding. This means that Asia and her team had to meet all the SEC filing requirements to be able to post their opportunity up on a wonderful platform like WeFunder. And just FYI, folks, WeFunder is why we have regulation and equity crowdfunding. They were the ones who started it and pushed it back in 2012 and helped it get there to 2016. And it took years to get this part of equity funding happening. And it's for anybody, instead of you having to go and prove that you're wealthy or and able to invest. And so I just love democratizing this opportunities for folks. And I love getting in on deals. I admit I am an investor in Trella as well, because I got to throw in some money there and feel really good about supporting Asia and the team. I better go in there and leave my comment now that I know that
Thank
there's,
you.
yeah. And also, add more to the till, because when you get to know these founders, that they will figure out any problem that happens. They'll get this to market. They're going to help the world out. And whether it's the cannabis growers or the indoor farming growers, these are folks who want to have successful outcomes with their businesses. And, we're able to help Asia, Dre, and the whole team at Trella get there. And yes, right? Ooh, the what people say section, Mia says, absolutely. And she also says, this is so refreshing. The cannabis space is so white everywhere. And that's so true, especially the older white guys. We see it here in Boston all the time. And then I love Ruth's comment, which is, you identified the need and made a model to meet your target audience needs. That's a great lesson for all of us.
Thank
And
you.
oh, Richard had a question. I didn't see that, Richard. Is this soil grow or hydro?
Both. We tried to make this as versatile as we possibly could for you, Richard. We know how people they find a way to grow, and they're very hesitant to want to change and modify. So we wanted this to just be something that would add into your existing method of growing. So you can use it with soil, hydro, aeroponics. You can use it with different types of lighting systems, HPS, CMH, fluorescent. We prefer LED because it's the least energy consuming. But yeah, Richard, check out our website at Trella.io. Click on that residential button, and you'll be able to learn more and also enter to win a contest that we're running as well. So, yeah, we've got a lot of information on our website, Richard. But yeah, we tried to make it as versatile as possible so that you
Yeah.
could do what you wanted to do.
Yep, this is so important. And also, what you were talking about too, as far as the getting the funds in, how you can do it, and doing it this way can be really helpful. Folks, take a look. If you're having a hard time raising capital, take a look at using a Reg C platform for growing your business, because we know the stats and they haven't changed for 30 years, and I don't see them changing yet either. Getting women, white women get maybe 2%. And then you've got Black women, you've got Latina women who don't even show up on the scale. It's just awful. And so this is another way, but it also gives your fans a wonderful way to get involved. Warren Buffett always talks about being an owner, right? Be an owner. Well, it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be on Wall Street. Okay. You can be an owner of these wonderful companies like Asia. And any other thoughts you want to share about your WeFunder campaign before I ask you a few more questions?
Well, as you may have seen, maybe not. Just want to make sure it's obvious. But there's only about 6 days left. It closes on Monday. This round, so please make sure that you go in and check out the page, think about it, and make that decision before Monday, the 24th. October 24th is the last day. And yeah, if you have any questions, there's also a section in there where you can ask questions about
Great.
the terms and the offering. So feel free to do that as well. And there's updates so that you can track, what have we been doing, up to this point. A lot of information in that WeFunder page, but don't wait, don't hesitate too long because it ends by October 24th.
That's right. And thank you for that, Richard. Plug for WeFunder builds great social media awareness as well. Yeah, it's a terrific platform. And again, folks, check it out. Cheer Asia and her team on and help them reach their goals, because they're making the planet a better place. And remember, she was a catastrophe risk engineer. So this is someone who has seen our crops get wiped out. And so, understanding how important it is that we really start moving forward in getting indoor farming, but also in the lucrative cash only business still practically cannabis industry. Those farmers, remember folks, if your state has cannabis is legal in your state, you can only grow and manufacture products within your state. So what Asia's helping folks do is become small business owners themselves and be able to meet the demand for this supply within their states. You cannot ship your cannabis across the border, not until we're federally regulated. Is that right, Asia?
That's right. That's right. And furthermore, to add to that, that cannabis, it's a medicine. I look at cannabis
Oh,
as a necessity for people, um, and we have a lot of these larger cannabis companies that are coming out. And if you're a patient, you need access to quality medicine consistently. And unfortunately, some of the available product that's coming out isn't consistent, has pesticides, has mold, etc. So there's a good amount of medical patients that want to be able to grow their own because
right.
that way they're able to really control what it is that they're consuming and have a good understanding of what they're consuming and to have that connection with your plant. Growing your own medicine actually helps helps when you ingest it. There's a connection there. I really believe, and I know that there are others that believe that too, that there's a health benefit to being engaged and interacting with your own medicine. So
Absolutely.
we're we're in that as well.
And now it's not going to be up in the rafters. If you're
Mhm.
wheelchair bound, you're going to be able to get to that and take care of it and harvest and everything. And Richard, I was absolutely right. Um, Quality and more affordable.
Hmm.
right? So it's great. And Brent, thank you for asking this. How does this innovation help people with disabilities? I think Asia's, hit all the high points on this. Because a lot of folks have disabilities that you can't see, right, Asia? And
Hmm.
so, this can help, especially if you're growing on your own. And Mia's question is wonderful. Her comment is, ooh, health benefit to be engaged with the growth of the planet. Yes. And Mia's also right in this comment too, which is it's a gorgeous, amazing plant. They are just still discovering all the cannabinoids.
That's right.
Seriously, I mean, if you dive deep into the medicinal properties of cannabis, it's pretty friggin' amazing.
Hmm.
Um, so, you've been at this for 6 years, Asia, right? I mean, and I'm sure there at different stages, you're like, oh, this is what success would look like. And then a couple of years, no, this is what success would look like. And, I'd like to get to success could easily be, I'd like to be here still tomorrow, right? But where you're at now, 6 years, where you've delivered the product to folks, you're looking at getting it so they can be manufactured to scale.
Hmm.
What does success look like now for Trella Technologies?
It's simple progress. Are we better than we were the day before? Um, and have we learned, from our mistakes? It's progress. I don't have I mean, we have quantifiable goals, but those are not what we tie towards success. Because our goals are lofty. We're valued at a multi-million-dollar company. We have revenue goals that are in the millions of dollars, and that's not something that you just snap your fingers and achieve overnight. So if I use that as success, I would be heartbroken and depressed all the time. So what I have to do instead is just go, okay, are you better at marketing this month than you were last month? Yeah, good. Do you have are you doing better with engagement and interacting with more customers than you were last month? Yes, great. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. So yeah, we've simplified it.
That is so great. Folks, I mean, I'm definitely going to be making a TikTok from that advice 100%. Success equals progress. At the end of the day, it's not so much about the funding, the money, the revenue, all of that. It is, are we making progress toward how we want to change the world and help serve the world? I love that. And as you've, been going through this process, I know that you have had your moments where you're feeling like, oh my God, hashtag why bother? Has been your favorite mindset hack for those tough days when you're thinking, wow, what was I thinking? And how do I get that progress to stay moving forward? How do I keep myself, focused and get out of bed every day?
Well, I have a son now. My wife and I welcomed our son Amir in April of 2021. And
Congratulations to you and your wife. So happy for you both.
yeah, yeah, thank you. And that, he's a motivator for me. Um, because I feel like I want him to be able to look at me as an example of going through something hard and not quitting.
Yeah.
And if I feel like if I quit now, what will be the story that I have to explain to Amir? Well, why did you quit, mommy? Like I hear those words in my head, and that fuels me to keep going because I want to be able to say to him, I pivot. It's not about quitting. It's about pivoting if you have to, changing the course, but don't give up. If you really see it, you dream it, and you can feel it in there, that means it's supposed to come true. So
Yeah.
figure out a way, take a break if you have to, ask for help if you have to, but keep going. So it's my son that motivates me right now.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Wow. And folks, one of the things that I love that Asia shared from her campaign were the testimonials, right? And as Mia said in her comment, ooh, the what people say section, right? That is a wonderful thing to do. If you can save testimonials, put them on a Pinterest board, put them somewhere where you can see them frequently for those days you're struggling to get through is amazing. Yes, stitch that on a pillow, Brant. Absolutely. my son keeps me motivated moving on along. And Brent has a wonderful question, which is how can the people with disabilities support your company? How can the disabled community add wind to your sails?
Well, I would say, spread the word about what it is that we're doing in our WeFunder campaign. You can also, of course, invest to become a partner and an owner in Trella Technologies. That's, we only have that for a limited time. But if you're not able to do that for whatever reason that might be, um, spreading the word, social media and these, algorithms are nasty buggers.
Oh boy, geez, and they're fickle as the
They're
day is
fickle.
long.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's great to have a really great idea and to have this all this potential to make an impact on the community. But if people don't know about it, it's all for naught. So one of the things that we spend a lot of time, energy on is trying to spread the word, and to have other people doing it for us is incredibly more valuable than us doing it ourselves. So
Yes.
please spread the word, share it with your community, and invest in Trella Technologies before October 24th.
Oh, everyone, amplify, amplify, amplify. Okay, that is what we're here for. It's certainly the mission of the Startup Life Live show is to amplify a founder and their business. And I can't think of a better company to really share on your social feed, wherever that is, multiple times. It's okay, especially on Twitter, because the feed goes by so quickly. Share as often as you can, but certainly on LinkedIn, and encourage people to take a look at the campaign and see, if it's a fit for them and where they'd like to invest their money instead of spending it eating out or, something that doesn't add value to the planet. And finally, you've been on this journey, as I said before, for 6 years. How has entrepreneurship enhanced your life? How has it helped you both personally and professionally, Asia?
Hmm. I don't get frazzled by much.
You are definitely as steady as she goes. Folks, if you weren't here in the beginning of our conversation, this woman was on a trip for her business and got COVID and is now at an Airbnb quarantined. Okay. And she's being like water and going with the flow and is unflappable. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's been I think it's shown me my range of what I can, withstand and figure out. It's also shown what my support system is like, my family, and how supportive they can be of me. I mean, I think unfortunately there's founders and entrepreneurs out there that may not have that support system behind them, especially over 6 years to have family that still cheer me on. It just made me understand the value of my support system, and to appreciate it a lot more, and to appreciate my ability to figure out difficult situations, and to know that this too will pass, as my grandmother used to always say. So
Yay. Oh, I'm so grateful you hopped on and shared your story. We have our marching orders. We are here to amplify Trella. Everything you're doing, especially today, is October 18th. So for due October 24th, we're all going to keep sharing this video, keep sharing Trella, hop onto wherever Trella is. All the links are in the show notes, everybody, to the WeFunder campaign, to all their social media. They have a really fun Instagram as well as Twitter. They're very active. And so I encourage everyone to amplify Trella and especially their WeFunder campaign right now, especially since you all know, because this show is about amplifying diverse founders, you know how hard it is to raise capital. So we need to democratize the equity raise and everybody chip in when they can to help a founder grow and glow in the world. Any last thoughts before I pop you in the green room?
Uh, thank you, everybody, for your time, your attention. Andy, thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing with your audience. And yeah, check us out and stay tuned for more.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to watch you grow. You do phenomenal. You do great social media. Everything that you're sharing on the world is so valuable and important. And I've been watching you for 4 years and I'm excited to see what the next 4 years bring.
Thank you, Andy.
All
My
right.
peace
Good.
and love, everyone. Bye.
Okay. And pop you in the green room and wrap up the show. Oh my gosh, folks, amplify, amplify, amplify. That's the most important thing we can do for all founders that are out there. Speaking of which, we have a great show coming up on Friday with Janelle Jones. We're going to be chatting with her. She's the founder and CEO of Janelle and Co. And it's a boutique consulting agency that takes service-based brands to the next level with growth-based holistic marketing strategies. Janelle is a bundle of joy. You're going to love meeting her. She's been at this for about 12 years. So we're going to learn a lot from how her company has evolved as marketing changes, right? And evolves, and how people bring services to the world. And how do you know whenever I post a new show on the Startup Life Live show, you hop on over to our meetup group and join us. So you get an announcement whenever I have a new founder sharing their business or an investor on sharing their advice to help ease your founder journey. I'm all about maximizing the joy and easing the heart.